We're live.
And welcome everybody to Around the Fort. This is week 10 of the high school football season, which means it's the state playoffs for class 4A, 3A, 2A, and 1A here locally. We've got some great matchups. We're going to talk about all 19 of them briefly. Tonight, I'm joined, as always, by my cohort in crime, Mr. Jake Smith. I love your hat, Jake.
Casey, glad to be on the program. Big shout out to Five Lakes Coffee, keeping us caffeinated throughout the season. We are both sipping some Happy Brew tonight. 300 milligrams per cup. Outstanding. Quick shout out to the 7th grade Belmont Braves. Took our Eagles down 27-22 in our NE8 Conference Championship. Outstanding game, all-class program. Again, if you guys are listening down there in Belmont, stick with that program. They got some dogs coming up.
Well, yeah, that bodes well for the Braves. We'll talk a little bit about them tonight because they do play tomorrow night in Class 3A action. And, that's good news for Coach Hall. Hopefully they can keep building on things, keep those young kids in the program and playing for the Braves and also playing football. That's part of the deal. So, excellent. Well, thank you, Jake. Are you ready to tackle this?
Man, let's get into it, Casey.
Okay. Let's start in Class 4A. We have Jackson Geiger joining us, engineering the program tonight. Thank you, Jackson. We're going to bring him on later in the program. He's got some exciting news on the on-campus front, and we'll talk to him about that here in a little bit. But let's delve into this first game. Jackson, give us 3 minutes on the clock. We got 0-9 Wayne at 2-7 Southside. Jake, just general thoughts real quick.
Yeah, it's tough to beat a team twice, no matter who it is, and we've got to give Wayne the shout that they have much improved over the last few weeks, I feel like. I think Southside's got a lot of athletic weapons, although they're a little bit undersized. They have a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism, a lot of guys that can run and catch the football well. They can cover spaces very well defensively. I still give the edge to the Archers a little bit, but I'm very excited to see how Wayne responds. And what a way to play spoiler, getting an opportunity here to try to get your first win in the playoffs.
Well, for sure. And I'm glad Jackson brought up the schedule. I just did it as well. Just a few weeks ago, midway through the season, Southside put the wood to Wayne. I think we all felt at the time that would be a closer game. The Archers, Coach Goodwell's team, went or hosted Wayne in week 5 and beat them 46-0. Just an absolute Southside shellacking. And Southside's done some really good things this year. Wayne, to your point, Jake, has really played much better. I think you go back to that Snyder game where they scored some points late to make that 31-18, and of course then they got just trounced by Southside. But after that, the offense is starting to gear up and score some points. And I watched a lot of that Northrop game last week. It looked like Northrop was going to win that game by 50 points. And they kept their starters in for a good chunk of the second half. And Wayne did some good things against the starting unit for the Northrop Bruins. So, yeah, I'm excited to see this rematch. I'm with you, Jake. I think Southside's got to be a decided heavy favorite in this contest. You like what they've done. I think, with Chris Moon at running back, Javon Irby, who's kind of listed as a running back, but he's one of the top receivers in the area. And man, the kid's got great hands and he's electric in space. So I really like a lot what Southside's done. There's a nice shot that Jackson had up at the top of this of Javante Eldridge. There he is. That was from our photo studio. That kid is a playmaker and definitely needs to be playing on Saturdays at some point here in the future because he can do it all. And again, I heard from both coaches this week, and they're saying what you would expect. Darian White from Wayne is saying, hey, we have flushed the 46-0 loss, and we feel like we've really improved. I think their stats and their scores would reflect that, even though they are 0-9. So I think they expect a much more competitive game. And conversely, I think Southside does too. Coach Goodwell said something similar to the effect of, we know we're going to get their best shot. We know they're going to be much improved. And he's got to tell his kids, hey, you need to erase 46-0 from your minds too, because this is going to be a different ball game.
I agree. And the one thing that Wayne's got going for him that I like is now they can identify the playmakers in South. They've seen them. And once you played somebody, once you kind of understand that speed, you can play them a little better. They've got 3 defensive players do the Generals that are averaging over 7 tackles a game on that linebacking front. So they've got guys that are stepping up, and hopefully they can rise to the occasion in this one.
Yeah, for sure. I do think it'll be closer, but Southside still has to be considered the favorite. We'll talk about our picks at the end. All right, Jackson, give us another 3 minutes on this next one, if you would. New Haven, the 2-7 Bulldogs, at undefeated and top ranked locally by the Swami scale. East Noble Knights at 9-0. Jake, I'm going to let you kind of tackle this one first because I know you've got a lot of eyeballs up there in the Northeast 8.
Yeah, when you start looking at some of these pairings and kind of the path that some of these teams get, what a great draw for East Noble. No disrespect to New Haven whatsoever, but just this is really stacking up for them to kind of have a little bit of a walk where they can kind of key in on getting any guys healthy that they need to. They can try a couple of new things in this game. I think it's going to be tough sledding for the Bulldogs. East Noble, I think this is going to be a game. I think we might even mention this a week or two ago, where when you get an opportunity like this, you're not overlooking anybody in the playoffs because anything can happen. Anybody can play spoiler. But you start looking at, hey, are there some different passing concepts we can try? Can we add in some different, run fits, see what that looks like? Can we try, just different things to kind of take your team to the next level? Obviously, like we said the other week, you want to get off to a fast start and a good lead, and then you can try some of those things, all while not trying to, let your kids take anybody for granted, because as we've seen through the years, anybody can win in the opening weekend of sectionals.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Just talking specifically about New Haven, this is, I think in the back of your mind as a coaching staff, if this is an uphill climb and winning up in Kendallville is not probable. You still have a lot of kids coming back. You've got Trey McCraney at junior quarterback, who's really, I think, improved as the season's gone on. You've got tight end Jackson Price, 6'4", 220. A kid that could really open some eyeballs, I think, next year. And you've got receivers Donald Gage and Ethan Wake, and sophomore Jalen Dowdy. So they've got some nice parts there coming back offensively in the skill positions. They'll definitely miss DJ Simpson. But, this is an opportunity, I think, that if I'm New Haven's coach, I'm going 4 and 5 wide. I'm spreading things out. I'm getting the ball out quickly to my playmakers in space. And I'm throwing everything but the kitchen sink at the East Noble Knights and seeing what happens. And who knows, like you said, Jake, if you get into halftime, you get a turnover or two, and it's a tight ball game, all that pressure then goes to East Noble because they're the heavy favorite. And New Haven then at that point can play freely. So they have some skilled guys. They have some playmakers. If you look at their scores, they've scored, pretty much every game since week 1, that 41-0 loss to Northrop. And they've got the ability. Just a couple of weeks ago, they put up 3 touchdowns against East Noble in Kendallville. So we know they can do it. Now, whether or not their defense can slow that machine known as the East Noble offense is another question. But yeah, East Noble is a team that I think, according to Coach Stewart, I did hear from him yesterday. He said they're healthy. They've got all their guys that they had a week ago. And, I think he feels pretty good about where they're at right now. We've talked a lot about that offensive line, how dominant they've been this year. I think that's where things really start, in addition to Riley Biddle, the senior quarterback. I still worry about having my quarterback play safety as well, but that's just how they do it. But this will be the kind of game, I think, if they get a comfortable lead, guys like Riley Biddle definitely will be on the sideline. Okay. Yeah. Jackson, thank you for that. This next one, I think, is it's got a little bit more intrigue. So we're going to put 5 minutes on the clock. And if we don't need it, we'll wrap it up early. But I think, knowing Jake as well as I do, and certainly myself, we can talk about this one a little bit. Jake, Columbia City 5-4, a little bit, I think, beneath what we thought Columbia City would be this year, especially in relation to the last several years. They've just done such a great job, as Coach Fox and his staff. So 5-4, probably a little bit disappointing, I think, by CC standards. At DeKalb, the Barons are 7-2. they're the flip side. To me, they're the anti-CC this year. They've kind of taken their spot, so to speak, a legitimate number 2 in the NE8 after last week's win over Leo, the first ever win for the Barons against the Leo Lions. So Coach Robertson's got those kids up in Waterloo playing as well as anybody in the area right now. This is a tough draw for Columbia City. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I watched the entire Summit City broadcast of Leo DeKalb, and what a fantastic game. And, you put an asterisk by that game because Nathan Foster did not play on the Leo side, but for DeKalb to break that cycle, break that streak of losses against Leo, and to do it on a game-winning field goal with, somewhere 8 to 10 seconds left in the ball game, what a win for them, and what a way to build momentum coming into the playoffs. They are locked and loaded, ready to go. And I was also glad to see the Eagles get back in the win column last week to also build some momentum of their own. And I think that's going to bode well for a solid matchup in this game. And I think the first time that these guys played earlier in the season, I think there's a little bit of a shock factor there because, the Barons have kind of been in that mid-tier realm for so long here in the NE8. But now with the coaching staff that they've put together and like we keep talking about, the trust that they have in each other, what they're able to do, they're really a three-phase football team. The special teams operation and the kick game looks outstanding. They've got playmakers all over the field that can catch the football, a quarterback that can throw. Just the scheme is great. To me, it really feels like a Division III college team in the way that they run their offense and how they do things. So it's going to be tough sledding for the Eagles. But the one thing that I would challenge Columbia City to do a little bit in this game is maybe to not – I think we talked about this the other week. Don't abandon what's got you here. I always attributed Columbia City to kind of Warsaw when they went to this flexbone offense. And if you would ever talk to Coach Curtis, they went 6-3 this year, and there is no question that he's going to continually run the same plays and do the same operation. They just feel that they need to coach it a little bit better. And I think for Coach Fox and the guys, I think that's kind of a similar attack to take is – don't forget that you've got guys like Trace Parrish that are absolute motor grader, fullback, slot back type guys that can run the football well. And give DeKalb credit. They shut that run down pretty well in their last meeting, but you can't abandon that. You've got to get Parrish, 15, 20 carries to kind of balance out what they've been doing lately. I do like to see Columbia City throwing the ball a little bit more. I hope they get a hold of some high percentage throws. Get the quarterbacks comfortable. They're going to be running both guys, McDivitt and the transfer. His name escapes me right now, but both solid athletes, both can throw the football down the field. And I think that that's going to be something that they've been working on is trying to open up the playbook a little bit, hitting different areas of the football field. And I would love to see Columbia City maybe get in that base flexbone set, but get some pre-snap shifts going, move some guys, maybe, throw a tackle over, and really just try to wham down and see where the cards fall in this game. But it's tough to beat a team twice. I think Columbia City is going to come with a lot better spirited effort this time, but I also think that DeKalb is the real deal right now.
Well, they're playing well. They've won 5 in a row and 7 of their last 8. You look back to that week 1 loss against Angola, it feels a little bit like an aberration. I think if these two teams played again, DeKalb would win that game easily. But credit the Hornets for coming up with the W in week 1. Otherwise, DeKalb's 8-1. And lest we forget, week 4, they outplayed East Noble, in my opinion, most of that game and just gave it away late.
I agree.
Theoretically, this team could almost be 9-0 based on how they've played from week to week. And can you imagine if they were 9-0, what we'd be talking about? They'd be at the top of the standings and also probably of Mount Swami. So we'll see. Coach Robertson and his staff have done a great job. They're the kind of the opposite of Bishop Luers in the sense that all their skill guys, especially offensively, are seniors. Their linemen are all underclassmen. You've got Miles Brockhouse, the junior left tackle, Maddox Brockhouse, the sophomore left guard. So you got a little Brockhouse thing going on the left side of the ball there. Colston Kern at center, and then Adrian Lowry and Malachi Webb, right guard and right tackle, 2 big boys right there. They're not overtly beefy, but they're good-sized kids, and they all move really well. And, of course, the quarterback, Eli McCormick, is just having a tremendous year. I mean, I think he's leading the conference in passing yards. And then you've got Brady Kohler at running back, also senior. Bo Meinhardt, senior at tight end, and then the 3 senior receivers, Xavier Bell, Noah Spears, and Connor Schmidt. So they've got all the parts, and the defense has been really good too, and that's senior dominated as well, and a few juniors sprinkled in there. So they're pushing all the right buttons up in Waterloo, and I think, like you said, this is a uphill climb for the Eagles. All right, thank you, Jackson. Give us 5 minutes on this next one. Bishop Dwenger, 7-2 are the Saints. Congratulations to the Saints. They did wrap up the SAC victory bell with their win last week against Southside. Kind of an ugly win, truth be told. There's a nice photo there by Doug Blackwell of Coach Jason Garrett. I thought Dwenger, I don't want to say they overlooked Southside, but I think they were going through the motions just a little bit in that win. And maybe, just maybe, peeking ahead to this matchup tomorrow night at Leo. The Leo Lions are 7-2. And I called this one, or the Swami called this one, the Johnny Zolnick Bowl, because former DC out at Leo, John Zolnick, who was a Bishop Dwenger graduate during his playing days, he is now a defensive assistant coach, if you will. He's kind of almost in a way, their hype man. And he brings a ton of energy, as we know from personal experience, to the Saints sideline. So this will be a fun one. I think, the big question mark still remains, is Nate Foster 100%? My understanding is he's playing. I think he probably could have played last week if they needed him, but Leo decided to sit him out. He's such an electrifying running back. If he's 100%, Leo has a shot in this game, no doubt about it. If he's not 100%, that's putting a lot of pressure on those young backs that are the replacements. One of them is the Perlet kid, is a freshman, I believe. And that's asking a lot of those kids. And also of Titus Stoller, the senior quarterback, who really just got thrust into duty weeks before the start of the season. So I think that's asking a lot of Leo. But that being said, the Lions are capable. They're very, very tough. They're physical. Are they as physical as Bishop Dwenger? To me, that's the other big question, in addition to Nate Foster's availability. If they can't match the Saints' physicality, I think Dwenger wins this one going away. What are your thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a neat kind of cat and mouse game between the play calling and the way the defenses work for or against each other. Like you said, with Coach Johnny Z actually being on Coach Dorfor's staff here last season and the season before. And so they're familiar with each other. And obviously Dwenger does some different things than Coach Z did. But it's going to be neat to see what Coach Dorfor brings out. And I'll say, if there's anybody who can scheme and get guys open and make the most of what he's got, I mean, I love the Leo effort last week and the way the play calling was in Nate Foster's absence. I am so excited about this game because I'm so obsessed with the always good Dwenger linebackers and how they're going to slant and do different things. They're going to stack them. They're going to mix them up in their alignments a little bit and just play so fast. And how is Coach Dorfor going to respond to that? Now, if Nate Foster plays, obviously that helps give Leo a big boost that they're going to need. But how close to 100% is he? Is it one of those things where you're going to kind of bring him out? It kind of reminds me of Friday Night Lights with Boobie Miles. He's not ready to come back off that injury yet, and they run him out on the field, and he's not 100%, and they shut him down, and that kind of ruins their momentum a little bit. So I'm hoping for Nate's sake that he's feeling good and that he's fresh and that week of rest helped him, and I hope that he runs hard. But I am really, really impressed with this Dwenger defense. They've shown so much speed and so much closing speed in the open places in the field, in the open spaces of the field, I should say. And I think a lot of people are picking this as kind of game of the week. I'm really excited about the matchup.
Yeah, for sure. The Saints, I mean, they don't have necessarily any D1 type guys on the defensive side of the ball, especially linebackers and secondary guys. Houston Ellinger might be the one that could, be an FCS type kid, Valpo or Butler or something like that, maybe even a MAC school, because he just plays recklessly and he's always around the ball and he plays with a chip on his shoulder. I fully expect that defense to keep Leo limited. Now the question is, can Leo, match Dwenger's, physicality and their dominance on that side, on the defensive side of the ball with their own defense? They've got some players too. They've been a little banged up. Brett Sauter has been banged up. My understanding is he's close to 100%. But if Foster can't go, they'll miss him in the secondary. So there's some question marks there for sure. If I'm Leo, and Jake, I'm going to ask you, if you're Leo, are you loading up the box and making sure Dwenger doesn't beat you running the ball and playing man coverage on the outside, or you just taking more of a bend don't break approach, let the Saints move the ball down the field and then just tighten things up in the red zone?
Yeah, I think I'm going to come downhill at him and just say, hey, I'm taking the run. I'm going to make you pass. Now, the thing that I will say about that, though, is the Saints have shown that they are a little bit more adaptable as the season's gone on here. Their offense is picking up the pace a little bit. And just like you always say, and we always say, I love the way the Saints play football because this is the team in this sectional to me that feels that like that lunch pail blue collar, going to put in a 12-hour day on the shift, and they are going to come down and lay the wood, and they are such good tacklers. I think that might be the difference.
Well, it'll be an intriguing one for sure, and I think Dwenger and Leo have had some fun postseason battles here in the last 10 or 12 years, and this should be another one. All right, just give us a quick 1 minute on this next game. This is the other Class 4A sectional locally. We only have one team. Huntington North, 4-5, are the Vikings at the Logansport Berries, 6-3. And Jake, I'm just going to put you on the spot. We'll ask more for picks at the end, but do you still agree with your assessment from a week ago that if Huntington North wins this game, they win this sectional?
I think so. And I think that Huntington North's record isn't as good as what they are. I like what the Vikings are doing. A guy that I actually coached JFL football with years ago, 10, 11 years ago, Trent Patak's son Mason is on that defense on the line, and he's a gritty kid, and they're another county team out there. Huntington County produces some corn-fed guys that can get after it, and I feel like with the changes that they made in their offense last season, now I know they don't have Tony Decker, but they have playmakers on this team that I feel like in space can make some football plays and win this game.
Yeah, I think so too. Jimmy Linker certainly comes to mind.
Yes,
And,
absolutely.
The Jesperson kid has great speed in the return game and also at running back. So they've got some nice parts. And I agree with you, Jake. They feel a lot better than 4-5 to me. Last year, you'll recall, they won this sectional. Yep. They opened up with Frankfort and they beat the Hot Dogs 77-8. Just crushed them. And so they were able to kind of get some momentum. Then they beat Marion 45-6. And then they went to overtime and beat Lebanon at Lebanon 31-28 for that improbable sectional championship. So I'm with you. I think if they win this game, they'll be primed for another sectional championship. All right, give us 2 minutes on this next one. Let's jump down into Class 3A, guys. 2 minutes on the clock, Jackson. Garrett, 4-5, are the Railroaders at Fairfield, 3-6. These teams just played 4 weeks ago, and it took overtime for the Railroaders to win 21-14 over the Falcons. I feel like Garrett's gotten a little bit better since then. I don't know if I'm just being fooled by last week's score. But that being said, they feel like they're starting to turn a little bit of a corner offensively. Jake, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, if you'd asked me this question before Fairfield played Busco, I probably would have had a little bit of a different thought on it. But now it seems like the Railroaders are starting to trend up a little bit at the right time and Fairfield trending down. Now, I will say that Busco team is just outstanding. We'll talk about them in a few minutes. So, I thought that it was going to be an uphill battle for the Busco Eagles to get it done against Fairfield, and they took care of business. I think, like we said, Garrett offensively trending in the right direction. I feel that the Railroaders are going to be able to do a little bit better than how they did in the first meeting, same as you.
Well, I think so too. I mean, they just feel for, maybe 69-21 over Central Noble last week is causing us to think that. But Alex Guzman, I don't know if you've got that photo handy or not, Jackson, but he's a running back, a skill guy. There's a nice shot of him from Steve Bowen earlier this year. That kid is a playmaker, and I think he needs more touches, in my opinion, for Garrett to really fully maximize their offense because he's pretty electric in space. We've talked a lot about Aiden Hunt, the big two-way lineman, really, really good player. They need more from him as well. But I do think Garrett gets this done. Their one loss here, their three losses in the last 5 weeks have come against Eastside, West Noble, and Angola. Three pretty good opponents. I think Angola, that 14-11 loss up there against the Hornets is probably a little bit of the outlier. I think if Garrett had won that, they'd be on a 3-game winning streak. They'd be 5-4 above 500. And we might be feeling a little bit differently about the Railroaders. That being said, I do think they're a slight favorite in this one. Okay, 2 minutes again, Jackson, on the clock. We'll stay in Class 3A. Woodland, 2-7, are the Warriors. Really, really tough year for Woodland. Playing a lot of young kids. They had a rash of injuries early in the season. Some of those kids have slowly come back. The Warriors head out to Lakeland, and Lakeland is 5-4 this year. A little bit of an enigma, it feels like. Lakeland, you just don't know quite what to expect. We know they want to throw it around with Braden Holbrook right on cue. Jackson, thank you. There's a great shot also by Steve Bowen. This is one of the better gunslingers in the area, and he's got some really nice weapons, most notably Kian Arroyo to throw it to. So you just you wonder, it's going to be colder. It's going to be a little windy. I don't think it's supposed to rain. But it's not ideal throwing conditions for the Lakeland Lakers. Does that allow Woodland to maybe stick around, especially if they can run the ball a little bit with their young pups on offense? Jake, your thoughts?
Yeah, if Woodland takes anything away from this, it's going to be great experience for these young guys playing in the postseason. I agree. Holbrook has been outstanding in his career. It'll be interesting to see how they use his dynamics in this game, kind of what you alluded to. I agree, too, that Lakeland, to me, they seem like another one of these teams that's better than what the paper shows and what their record shows. And I'll be interested to see what their game plan is. Lakeland's obviously going to be, considered the favorite in this game, but how are they going to be able to, they can handle business here against Woodland. How are they going to take this momentum into the next game and see if they can make a run here? But it's going to be, all on the Holbrook Arroyo show, kind of like what you alluded to. And if they can get that going early, I think it could work out pretty well for them.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's kind of coming to an end here soon. Both those kids are seniors and they had great careers. We remember, their Coach O'Neill, the previous coach, and he was so high on those kids. And then Coach Tom Wagaman this year is more of an old school kind of run first mentality type coach. And so I'm sure he's had to adapt a little bit his offensive philosophy this season, but they are a dangerous team at 5-4 are the Lakers. All right, give us a minute real quick. Jackson will stay in in Class 3A. Tippy Valley 7-2. The Vikings, they're not at Death Valley. They're heading up to Angola to face the 4-5 Hornets. This is a little bit of a tricky one. I think Tippy Valley's got to be considered the favorite, but Angola could surprise here. Jake, your thoughts?
I think I would agree that Valley probably is considered the favorite, but I don't know, man. I like what the Hornets have been able to do. They've been in some tight games this year. I think they're playing hard. They got some athletes. Obviously, this is just going to be Hawk Hasselman's last game. He's going to be playing like it is, and he's going to be trying to win and keep that thing going for another week. So I think this could be a little bit closer of a game than some people might think. And the one thing about Tippy Valley, they moved conferences out of the Three Rivers Conference a few years ago to try to get against some better competition for these postseason matchups. So we'll see if that pays off for them this year.
There's some good points there, Jake. You look at Angola's schedule, they played a really good schedule.
Yeah, they
at
did.
DeKalb, they won that game to kickstart things. At Leo, right out of the gate, two tough NE8 opponents, both on the road, and they were in both those games, winning one of them. You've got at West Noble. That's not necessarily a bad loss by any measure. And then you've got Andrean, the powerhouse 59ers. Garrett won a bunch of hardware a year ago. Eastside, and they only lost by 5 points a week ago up in Butler. So this, to me, feels like a really dangerous 4-5 team. I think you just look at that record and you think, Angola, they're in the NECC. They're kind of the big bully of the NECC, playing against a bunch of 1A and 2A schools, but are they any good? Well, I think they are pretty good if you look at that record and those opponents. So I don't know. This could be a tight one. We'll see. All right, give us 2 minutes, Jackson, if you would. Concordia still in Class 3A, the 1-8 Cadets at West Noble. West Noble is 7-2. Coach Monty Maywater's Chargers producing again. Thank you for putting that up, Jackson. Eli Trent, nice photo. And this is a kid that and I think Doug Blackwell took that picture, I'm pretty sure, but this is a kid that if Concordia has a snowball's chance, and you know what, he has to perform at a really high level, and he's capable. He's really savvy. He can scramble. He can throw on the run. He's tough as nails. If he can hit a couple big plays with some of those youngsters that they have on the offensive side of the ball, Concordia playing that SAC schedule, who knows, could go up there and hang around for a little bit. Jackson just brought that up. You see some of their scores. They did beat Wayne 21-20, and they've got beat up more times than not. But again, they played a pretty tough schedule, including Cecina and Eastbrook to kickstart the season. Jake, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's really going to come down to the quarterback play, Concordia, but then can West Noble get their wheels churning and finish this thing out this year? Can they get it done? And I think it's a nice draw for them to try to really establish their great running game. I'll tell you, they're starting to look more and more balanced offensively, and they're able to throw the ball a little bit, which is nice. Solid defense up there. I mean, it would be really meaningful, I'm sure, for Coach Monty to finally get that sectional. And I think this is a good matchup for them to start things off.
Absolutely. I mean, we're big fans of Coach Manigal and the Concordia Cadets for sure.
Absolutely.
And if they would pull off the upset, that would be a great story for that program, especially, considering how difficult this season has been. But I agree with you, Jake. There's part of me that pulling for Coach Monty Maywater and that community. He's been up there toiling forever, almost a quarter century now. And they've gotten close in the past. And this feels like this year is as good as they're going to get to getting over the hump and getting some sectional hardware.
Mm-hmm.
All right, give us 2 more minutes, Jackson, if you would. Jay County, still in Class 3A. The Patriots with a really impressive win a week ago, upsetting Heritage. Heritage is missing some guys, but still, Eddie Fields, the veteran coach for Jay County, you got to give props to them for that impressive win. They go down to Belmont 0-9. It's my understanding that Oliver Whirling, their leading tackler, is returning from injury. That will bolster their defense. There might be one or two other guys back in the mix. This feels to me, again, you take away their last 2 weeks, they've lost 55-0 to DeKalb, 60-7 last week at East Noble. But make no mistake, those are the two best teams in the NE8. So that could be a bit misleading. Prior to that, they were doing some decent things. And so I don't know. You talk about a soft spot in the heart, Jake. You can't help but pull for Coach Nick Hall's Braves that maybe, just maybe, playing at home against, maybe a beatable opponent in the Jay County Patriots. I don't know. We'll have to find out. But that was Oliver Whirling that Jackson just had up on the screen a moment ago, who's back in the lineup. There he is. That's from our photo shoot. Your thoughts on this one, Jake?
The Braves are establishing an identity from the youth on up into the middle school and into high school, and they are teaching some sound fundamentals. Very impressed by the way their middle school played us, and I'm hoping that funnels up into the Braves system. And I don't know, maybe they've got to do something where they just bypass a JV group for a while and just hold a couple freshman classes together to try to bolster that and take a couple more years to really build up those groups coming up together and not split them up so quick. I don't really know what the answer is for the program. I know Coach Hall works hard for them down there, and you just really are pulling for them to get that illustrious win that has been so tough for them. I think it's going to be tough against Jay County, but if they can get some things going their way, Belmont does have some speed, and they want to be able to throw the ball, and I think they're just continually getting better at it in the lower levels. So, how soon can they translate that up to the high school?
Yep.
That's denounced to say. We'll have to see how the next couple seasons play out for him. But if it's going to happen for him, it's going to be this week. And the one thing I will say that I liked about Belmont, if you look at their score against New Haven, they were able to score against New Haven. And that's what it's going to take. They're going to have to put a few scores up on the board and not just grind it on defense all night. So if they're able to get on the board a few times and make a game out of this, anything can happen.
Yeah, and a couple of those scores, I do believe, came via their passing game.
Yes.
And I think they might even have a freshman QB. So who knows? Maybe they'll have a good crowd down there tomorrow night, and they can put forth a great effort, hang around, and pull off a surprise win over Jay County. Not that we're rooting against Jay County, because we're not. But that being said, we are certainly pulling for the Belmont Braves to end that losing streak and to have something to feel good about going into next year.
Well, and I'll quickly end on that too, Casey. On the Wells County Facebook page that they had that I saw the other day, I mean, they had over 500 engagements from the community talking about how big of a deal it was and how meaningful it was for that 7th grade win. They went undefeated. The vibes are high down there, so hopefully they can ride some of that positive momentum going into the future.
Very cool. Yeah, no doubt about it. It's, again, you got to keep those kids in your school community and in football pads. They can't be going to other sports, and then pluck a few others from maybe some of the other sports. So we'll see. We're pulling for you, Coach Hall. All right. Staying in Class 3A, we got 2 more games. Let's go down to Monroeville, where the Heritage Patriots, who just, like I said, just were upset a week ago by Jay County. They're 5-4, hosting Norwell. The Norwell Knights just 1-8. It's been another tough year for Coach Gerber, trying to turn the program back around. It just seems like they have ebbs and flows like that down there in Ossian. But this could be potentially a closer game, I think, than people think. I still think Heritage has an edge in overall talent, but we'll see. What are your thoughts?
I agree. The one thing that I love about Norwell, and I've got a couple buddies on that coaching staff, man, they do it the right way. I don't know that I've ever seen such a balanced offense in our area. They do great things out of the shotgun, the pistol, getting under center, matching the looks with their wide receivers and their run packages, whether they're under center or not. Defensively, they've got that 3-man front that they can quickly bring those outside backers down and shift into a 5-man front. They play fast, and it's just one of those things in that school, in that area. I think that's kind of the way the program works. They have a run like they did in, 22-23, like, going 8-1 and having a great run there. And then, they've got to rebuild, get a couple of guys tooled back up. And I think they're in that, probably second year of that rebuild stage, which probably tells me next season, watch out for Norwell. But I think this game could be a lot closer than we think.
Well, Heritage, a week ago did not have Lucas Weber, the senior, Mr. Everything. He literally does about everything, including selling popcorn at halftime for the Patriots. Without him, they are not nearly as dynamic offensively. And I'm not sure what his status is. It looks like he might still be doubtful. If he doesn't play in this game, I think Norwell hangs around for sure. And maybe we're talking a week from now about a nice win for the Norwell Knights. If he does play and he's close to 100%, I think you got to give the edge to the Patriots. They're playing a freshman quarterback, his little brother, Lucas Weber's little brother. I think it's Ethan or Evan. I forget his name. But, Zeb Tagulis was the sophomore starting quarterback. He went down, and they've had a few other guys too that so they've been hit by the injury bug as well. So this will be an intriguing game, especially if Lucas Weber does not suit up for the Patriots. Okay, give us 2 more minutes. The last game in Class 3A, Bishop Luers, tradition-rich Bishop Luers Knights sitting at 4-5. Again, a really tough schedule. This is not new for Bishop Luers, playing bigger schools in the always tough SAC. At Delta, kind of an uncharacteristic Delta team at 3-6. Jake, I'll let you talk first on this matchup.
Well, I just don't think that Delta has seen a defensive line like Luers is going to roll out. I think that's going to be a big thing, is when you start getting down into the trenches and you're talking about some boys that are, 6'6", 6'8", 285 pounds plus. That's going to be tough sledding to run the ball against, and great at getting pressure on the quarterback when needed. The back end looks great. I think that Luers is definitely battle tested, and it's just the age-old SAC that we always talk about, where when they're in conference play, they're just battling every single week against some of the best talent in Northeast Indiana, and now they're going to go out and play some teams that don't necessarily play that caliber of team through the season. Not to say Delta hasn't played anybody. I'm not trying to say that, but just the SAC schedule to get through that gauntlet really gives you a heck of a preparation. The same way that Concordia's had their runs through the years, where just because they've only won a game or two doesn't mean they're not going to make a run. And I think Luers is no different this year. I think even though you're looking at them at 4-5, I consider them a powerhouse going into the playoffs.
Well, I'm going to throw something out at you. This is popped in my head. Remember a year ago, Heritage, under first-year coach Jeremy Hollinger, was 8-1 going into the postseason. They went down to Delta, and I think all of us, certainly affiliated with Game Night in Summit City, pretty much took the Patriots unanimously across the board. They got smoked 54-14 by the Eagles down there in the Muncie area at Delta. So this is a proud program. So Delta's they're licking their chops to get a shot at a program like Bishop Luers on their home turf.
Well, and it's funny because as Columbia City fans, we are just, the Delta Eagles. We are not fans of the Delta Eagles because we had a 2 or 3 year contract with them to play, and we just couldn't get it done, man. They play a lot harder than what their record shows, too. So it's not going to be a gimme game for the Knights whatsoever. They're going to have to strap up for that one.
Yeah, Jackson, real quick, put that photo back up if you would. Doug Black of the Luers QB, sophomore Knox Johnson. I think they've settled on him. There he is. Doug took that last week out at Carroll, and they were down 35-3 were the Knights at halftime. And in the third quarter, I believe they scored a touchdown and made it 35-10 when both teams had their starters in. So again, playing with a big lead, sometimes kids take their feet off the pedal just mentally, but you got to give Bishop Luers a lot of credit for not throwing in the towel and winning the second half like they did a week ago at a 6A juggernaut like Carroll. So you wonder if that's the kind of thing that the Knights can springboard off of and carry that momentum into this game down at Delta. But nice picture there by Doug Blackwell for Game Night of Knox Johnson. All right, thank you, Jackson. All right, let's jump down into Class 2A. Just give us a minute on these first two games. Prairie Heights 0-9. Coach McCrae's Panthers having a really rough year. Disappointed to see after they've done so many good things. At Manchester 6-3 are the Squires. This is their best record to start a season since the 2009 squad went 8-1. And I'll let you just talk briefly about this, Jake.
Well, Manchester is definitely having a decent season, and on the Prairie Heights side, similar to how our talk was about Norwell a little earlier, you go with the ebbs and flows of your program, and they're in a rebuilding year. I was a little disappointed to see that it is a complete rebuild for We the Heights, but they're battling. They're not quitting. Tough draw. Obviously, the Squires are looking pretty solid right now, and I'm real familiar with their weight room. Their strength program's top tier up there, so I think it's going to be tough sledding for Prairie Heights, but hopefully they can have a couple of things go their way and play the upset special.
Well, yeah, I mean, Manchester, even though they've got a much better record, I don't think they're world beaters per se. And if Prairie Heights gets a turnover or two, maybe they go out down there and shock the world. That happens every year in the state of Indiana state playoffs. There's always one or two upsets the first weekend where your mind explodes a little bit. Maybe Prairie Heights does that this year. We'll see. All right, the next one. 1 minute, Jackson. Whitco 1-8 at Eastside 7-2. This kind of feels to me like Eastside can maybe pick their score. They're playing at a really high level. They've got a lot of weapons on offense. That defense has been stingy. I think it's a tough battle for the Wildcats, but I'll let you talk about it, Jake.
Yeah, Coach Thomas Tyree's first year coming over. I was a little surprised that they lost the Southwood game, but I think Southwood had something to prove with Coach Tyree coming from them a couple weeks back and then losing a spirited game against Wabash. I really, really thought that the Wildcats were going to get to that 2 wins this year. I think you can about post market that they'll get there next year. But what a horrible, horrible draw, because East Side, I think, is just an absolute juggernaut right now. And that's a perfect draw for the Blazers. And unfortunately, Whitco has to be the team to face them first. I think the Blazers are going to do what they need to do to get themselves right to try to make a run and try to get a rematch against AC in this one.
Yeah, no doubt. You talked earlier about draws. Eastside got a favorable draw here with Whitco,
Yes.
and then they play the winner of Prairie Heights Manchester. So I think the Blazers are sizing up beautifully to get a rematch against powerful Adams Central in the championship, assuming that the Flying Jets get past Bluffton Cherubusco winner, which we'll talk about here momentarily. But yeah, that sectional 35 in Class 2A is a doozy. That's going to be a lot of fun. Some really good football to be played there. Okay, speaking of 2 minutes on the clock, Jackson, those Adams Central Flying Jets, winners of 23 consecutive games, a school record. They're sitting at 9-0 and feeling really, really good. Hosting a 1-8 Central Noble squad, so a little bit of a bye game, if you will, for AC. Central Noble right now appears to be in shambles. I think they're having major issues in terms of numbers and things like that. And I don't want to speculate on what their future looks like, but I know that they've got some things to get redirected if Central Noble football can get back to what it once was, which was a pretty solid football program. But nice picture there from the photo shoot of Jamison Roach, the junior QB, player of the week in game night a couple of weeks back. And what a player he is. And again, just cut from that mold of AC QBs, do it all, run, pass. Oh, by the way, play defense, light people up on the defensive side of the ball. And Adams Central, what can you say? They're a machine. And I just think this is going to be an easy win. I think they're up, 50, 60 points by halftime, and then they shut things down, and hopefully the scoreboard operator doesn't even stop the clock when the officials signal to stop it, because I think this will get ugly early. Your thoughts, Jake?
I agree with you. AC is just a team of destiny for a rematch, I think, with the Blazers. But a quick shout out to Central Noble. My wife Amy's cousin's son, Trayton Fletcher, is their quarterback this year and broke the single season passing yards record for them. He's never played football before. This is his first year playing football. He's a basketball kid.
I didn't know that. Good shout out. He's put up some really good numbers. He's been on our leaderboard consistently throughout the whole season.
He's just an athlete,
top 10, if not top 10, certainly right there on it. And I do believe towards the tail end of the season, he was top 5, 6, or 7. So great shout out. And again, no disrespect towards any of those kids.
Of course,
Albion. We want all of our area programs to have success, and you just hope that whatever is holding back the Cougars gets fixed during the off season, and they can keep the numbers and keep kids coming out. But kudos to Trayton, because he's having a heck of a year. All right, give us 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, because I have a feeling Jake's got a few things to say about this matchup. This is going to be a great contest. Bluffton Tigers 8-1 at Cherubusco, the 7-2 Cherubusco Eagles in Turtletown. This is a Turtletown treat, if there ever was one. And I think this is the game that Jeff Mahoney is doing for Summit City Sports. Nice photo of Cherubusco celebrating their upset win over West Noble a couple weeks back here from Amy Kretzinger, who takes pictures up there in Busco. So I'll let you take the ball and run with it, Jake.
Yeah, this is going to be a really outstanding matchup, because when you're looking at a team like Cherubusco that offensively are going to run when they're under center, they're more in that Delaware wing tee. When they're in the gun, they're in that gun tee look. The Kenny Simpson gun tee, made famous by him. They do some cool things in the run game with their buck system, with their trap system, and counter system. And that, I think, bodes really well in this game. And then to the other side with Bluffton, I think it's the same way. They can run straight downhill on dive. They can run straight downhill on power. They have a lot of neat rushing concepts. And then now this year, both of these teams are kind of in that situation where they add in some playmakers on the Busco side, and the Lawrence kids. They've got some athletes that can make plays. And so now you can open up the playbook a little bit. You get a little bit of a passing game in there. I think both defenses are nasty. It's going to be one in the trenches. And I think that what better field to play this on than over in Paul Sade World in probably a damp, just tall grass, old school field in Cherubusco, Indiana. I think this is going to be an outstanding game. I think this is the one to watch.
I totally agree. I'm more intrigued by this game than I am Dwenger at Leo, and a couple of the others that we pointed to earlier. My eyeballs will be on this. My ears will be open listening to Jeff Mahoney from SummitCitySports.com.
Yes.
But I'm pumped. And I will say this. I'm just gonna say the Swami, I usually agree with him almost exclusively because he's very wise and very handsome. However, I know I'm getting ahead of myself here. Swami feels one way. I'm going to say right now, Casey O'Boyle, I think Busco wins this game. I'm going with Busco by a point, mild upset. And Bluffton plays a bunch of young kids, even though some of these kids feel like they've been there forever, like Cooper Craig, Axton Best. Those kids are just juniors. They only have 3 seniors on their starting offense. Cherubusco plays a ton of seniors on both sides of the ball, and I think that's the difference. They're senior laden, and I think that's why they get it done. All right,
Cherubusco with 17 seniors, Casey.
Yeah, and for a school that size, that's a big deal.
Yep.
And I wrote a column about it last week and kind of touched on it, and you got to give Coach Sade a lot of credit and those kids. Weston Ott. We could go on and on. You know them better than I do, but there's a lot of really good Grant Seavers, a lot of great seniors in that class, and they're not going to go down without a fight. But this is a great matchup. All right, give us just 1 minute, and we might not even have enough to talk about 1 minute for these 3 games in 1A. Southern Wells 2-7 at Triton 6-3. Triton, your boys. I'm going to let you speak to this game. Southern Wells, Coach Blake Blaker, 2-7, trying to turn things around down there in Ponito. A kind of a tough draw at 6-3 Triton. Your thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, I think Triton, like I said, they're a gritty group of kids, and they play hard for each other. I like their linebacking core. As I said the other week, Xander's good buddy Lucas is a backer for them, and they fly to the football. They're a hard-tackling team. But on the other side, Southern Wells getting a couple of wins this year, and I don't think people realize how hard that is when you're a team that's had those 0-win seasons, even 1-win seasons, to get into that second win. That's a big deal for them. So I hope they can, ride some momentum going into next season as well. But I think Triton's win against North Miami, 27-24, that was a very, very cognizant representation of how I think they're going to grind it out in these playoffs.
I think so too. I think Triton's got to be the favorite, but props to Southern Wells. Swami took them some B. Antonio's pizza last year, and earlier this year after a nice win, and they are very appreciative. I like what they're doing down there in Ponito. All right. Another minute. Blackhawk 2-7 are the Braves at Fremont. Fremont 6-3. Now we joke a lot about their schedule, but it's not their fault. They can only play who they can play, and they're 6-3. Whether anybody wants to talk about it or not, Trevor Thomas and the Eagles have done great things this year. They've got a nice running back. I think the Eagles should be heavy favorites in this one. Your thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, I think they're just going to lean on the back of Carmine Moreno and just run the football with him. I think awesome name. He's well-trained, well-disciplined, hardworking kid, and I think that's just going to be the difference. That offensive line with him running behind him is going to give him the edge.
For sure. We're rooting for Blackhawk too, though. This is a Allen County school with played the 7-man or 8-man football, whatever it was, not too long ago, and they're trying to get off the ground. It's been tough sledding, but if they can put 2 or 3 classes back to back to back together and get over that 500 hump, they've got a lot of tradition in a lot of their sports programs. You look at their men's basketball, one of the elite small school programs in the state. So they're hoping to replicate that on the gridiron. Absolutely. All right, 1 minute on this last game. Madison Grant 5-4 At South Adams, 6-3. I don't know. Call me crazy, but this sure feels like this is for the sectional championship. Your thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, isn't it weird how the draws happen like that sometimes? And I totally agree. I think South Adams has a very good chance to win this sectional. And like you said, I think it basically is going to happen on Friday night, and whoever wins this game. South Adams been able to do a lot of good things, throwing the football around. Love seeing that. And especially everybody forgets just how good they play throughout the season because they're always going to be playing against AC, and they're always going to kind of get overshadowed by that. And you've also playing Bluffton in there, and it's like, man, they're 6-3, and they play with a lot of spirit, and then they can move the ball really well. So I think it's South Adams should have the edge in this one.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I think they're probably 2 scores better. I'm sure Coach Mosier doesn't want to hear that, and he doesn't want his players to hear that. But they're playing some good football, and they really turned it on late last year in the postseason. I expect the Starfires to win this game, make another run. There's a nice shot of their QB, Titus Lehman, who has been dinged up a little bit, but my understanding is he's close to 100%. He'll be back under center and doing great things for the Starfires. So they got a lot of great weapons. Wes Somerset, I think, is a junior receiver. His recruiting stock is really starting to go up, and I think Starfires get it done. Okay, let's get out of that real quick. I want to give a quick shout out, if I may, to another one of our sponsors. Let me line that up. LaserX.
Oh, yeah.
It sponsors the big tag of the week every week. And did we lose him?
Nope, he's just shuffling camera views.
Okay. We LaserX is a local entertainment place over by Glenbrook Mall. They've been a longtime sponsor of Northeast Indiana Game Night and around the fort. So I want to give a shout out to them. If you're looking for something for like a team building thing with your employees or a birthday party or whatever, trust me, go over there. You'll get the red carpet treatment. You'll have a blast. It's safe, it's clean, it's friendly, and it's a blast. So definitely contact LaserX for that. Well worth the time.
Absolutely agree.
And then we also mentioned Five Lakes Coffee and B. Antonio's. I want a quick shout out to the Snyder Panthers. Again, 20-3 win, or down 20-3 a week ago. In the second half, they looked dead and buried. To come back and beat Northside 24-20, that was one of the more impressive comebacks I've seen from anybody here in recent memory. And so they deserve some pizzas, and the Swami dropped those off on Tuesday.
Just seeing them throwing the ball a little bit mixed up with that run game, it was a thing of beauty.
I'm long, so athletic Breshawn Johnson. I mean, it's like I saw him at the photo shoot. He's got to be every bit of 6'5". And I thought, wow, this kid looks like he could be a real weapon. Well, they utilized him last week against Northside, and you wonder, we'll talk about Snyder next week in the postseason when they get involved. But, man, what does that do to their psyche, especially with an extra week to prepare? Exciting stuff.
I was so excited. What a finish to that game. Between that game and the DeKalb game, man, good football.
No doubt. A lot of great football. All right, real quick, Jackson, why don't you come off and show us your handsome – there he is, a handsome face. What are you wearing there? Is that a Columbia City, or is that – okay, it's the city. I was hoping maybe it was some game night swag in Columbia City colors, but that's okay. Maybe next time.
No, that one's upstairs.
Okay, buddy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Jackson Geiger, who does a lot of our behind-the-scenes engineering, and very grateful to Jackson with his help with Around the Fort and also in Game Night. He's done some writing and some features for us. Jackson is going to go to West Lafayette this week with Big Brother Garrett, and they are going to tag team the Rutgers Scarlet. Are they the Scarlet Knights, or what are they?
Scarlet Knights.
Okay. I didn't know. Are they one of those teams that changed their names because of politics?
No. As far as I know, they've been the Scarlet Knights for quite a while.
Scarlet Knights forever. Well, that team, man, they're hard to figure out. Rutgers early in the year looked like they could be a top half Big Ten team, and maybe they still will, but they've kind of fallen on hard times here recently. Some of that could be their schedule. Purdue looks like they're so close to turning a corner. Jackson, I got to ask you, is this the week that the Boilers rise up and get that nice Big Ten win?
Man, I'd like to think so, but it's hard to say that they will. We're looking at it, and it hasn't been confirmed, I don't believe, but it's a very good possibility that Purdue will be out without their starting quarterback Ryan Brown. Got banged up in the first half last week against Northwestern.
And I like that kid.
So it's,
I like how he plays.
I mean, hey, he throws the ball well and he runs the ball well. Really good dual threat quarterback, only a sophomore. So that's something good to look up for Purdue within the next couple of years. But man, I'd like to say we get the win. We've got a quarterback that'll be playing as his name's escaping me. Transfer quarterback Malachi Singleton will be playing. Has experience playing games, so that bodes well for Purdue. And Rutgers has struggled a little bit lately, so just the big question is, can Purdue's defense get 2 stops in this game?
Yeah, can they get some stops? No doubt. The Maccabee kid runs so hard. He'll be ever present offensively. And I think Malachi, wasn't that the crazy ginger's name in Children of the Corn? Do I have that right? I mean,
feel like you do.
it's kind of a Halloween type season.
Yes.
It's Halloween week
Spooky
coming up.
themes, Casey.
Maybe that
Spooky
bodes well for the
themes.
Boilers. You throw somebody in there. Maybe you've got a tailback named Damien, a couple other, Chucky out wide or something. You just never know. Bring all the, the scary folks out and get it done down there at Ross-Ade. We're counting on it.
Hey, I mean, I hope so. I like what Coach Odom's done so far. You look at the schedule and like, 2 wins. Yeah, well, that's double our wins from last year. So it's improvements. That's all we're looking for. We kind of expected as Purdue fans, him coming in here, it wasn't going to be an instant change.
Yep.
We weren't going to go from being in the bottom of the Big Ten to all of a sudden, oh, wait, now we're going to win the Big Ten. No, this was going to be a steady progression, and we're starting to see it with 2 wins this year.
The product is better, and we talked about it at the beginning of the season. That's all you want as a fan, as an IU basketball fan. That's what we're kind of holding out hope with Darren DeVries, the new coach at the Hoosiers. We don't expect top 3, even top 5, 6 in the Big Ten. We just want the product to be better because it was horrible under Coach Woodson. So, all right, and you're going to try to catch up with Leo grad DJ Allen. Hopefully, maybe
yes.
Pat him on the back. If he takes his helmet off, I want you to take it and put it in your bag and bring it back to the cave. Okay. What's going on?
I will do my best.
I think this is my screen just went off. Am I still there? Can you see me?
Oh, you're still there, buddy.
We see it and we hear you.
Speaking of possessed and demons, my laptop is possessed by Satan, and I've got to get a new one. This thing, it just happened again. It's totally whacked out. It's going to make me a cuss. All right, let's get to the picks real quick.
Geiger.
Rapid fire.
Hey.
Thank you, Jackson.
Thank you, Jackson. Have a great time, and cheers to Mike Allstott, the greatest football player to ever live.
Yeah.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
We're good. We got you.
Can you hear me? It's possessed.
Yes.
It's just flaking out. If you can hear me, I'm going to talk, and you can
just keep talking. You're rolling. You look great.
Okay. Let's go through these real quick. If you put the Swami picks up, you can maybe put them up from Summit City Sports. Jake, real rapid fire.
Yes.
Wayne at Southside. Swami says Southside by 25.
Yeah, South in the points.
You think they cover?
I do.
Okay. New Haven at East Noble. Swami says East Noble by 39.
Ooh. East Noble's going to win the game. I don't think they cover that. I think it's a little closer. Okay. See, now you're frozen.
You still there, Casey?
I think his computer might actually be possessed.
Maybe it's the deaf dog.
Jackson, can you bring up the game night? Is it on Summit City where you could put the
Yeah, right here. We got him here.
If we cannot get Casey back here in maybe 15 or 20 seconds, maybe we'll just roll down through those.
What a time for him to pause, though. I mean, just look at that. Man. Oh, now he's gone.
Oh, let's give him a chance to see if he
Pops back in here.
Yeah, very spooky. Halloween, 8 days away.
I'll say right around the corner.
Casey's
That's what this is
computer.
from.
Yep, Casey's computer
Oh,
going down
boy.
for the count. Yeah, we'll maybe another 15 seconds here and all right, well, maybe we'll just keep rolling through these things, and if he can pop back on, we'll have him wrap it up with us. But where did we leave off? We were at the New Haven, was that it?
Where are we at, New
Yep.
Haven?
Yeah, so
Oh, yep. There you go.
I said New Haven. East Noble would win, but New Haven would not cover the points. And then we got Columbia City at DeKalb. Swami says DeKalb by 21. I'm taking DeKalb in the points. I think it's going to be, I think that's a dead-on number. Then going down, we've got Dwenger at Leo. He's got, Swami says Dwenger by 13. I'm going to agree with that. I'm going to take Dwenger on the points. I think that Dwenger defense is going to be outstanding. It's going to be tough sledding for Leo in that one. Swami says in the Huntington North at Logansport, that's going to be a little bit of a bus ride. Huntington North by 1. I say I agree. I think you would consider Logansport to be the favorite, but I think Huntington North gets the upset special and it only takes 1 point for the upset. So I agree there. Going down to Class 3A, we've got Garrett Fairfield. Swami says Garrett by 12. If you'd asked me this a week ago, I probably would have disagreed, but I'm going to take Garrett in the points on this one. I think the Roadrunners offense is picking up. Woodland at Lakeland. Lakeland, Swami says Lakeland by 27. I'm going to agree with that. Woodland's young. If Holbrook can get things going, I think Lakeland can cover that spread. We got Tippy Valley at Angola. Swami says Tippy Valley by 7. I'm gonna go against that. I'm gonna say Angola is gonna get the upset special and pick them by 1. I think that their strength of schedule that they've played has been an underlying factor in this one, and it's definitely a trip for Tippy Valley to get up to Angola. Concordia at West Noble. Swami says West Noble by 24. I think that's spot on. I think it's 24 plus. I think West Noble in the points. I think the rushing attack and defense is going to be too much for the Cadets. Jay County at Belmont. Swami says Jay County by 25. Is that what that says?
Yes. Yeah, 25.
25. I'm gonna say Jay County wins this, but I'm not gonna say they're gonna cover that. I think Belmont's gonna keep the game a little bit closer and hopefully a little Cinderella story there.
Belmont with the upset special by 1. Come on, man.
Hey, I'm with it. Norwell Heritage. Swami says Heritage by 10. Is Swami? There he is. Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Holy smokes. We can hear you.
We got you.
We
Technology.
waited about 45 to 60 seconds, and I was like, so we kind of started rolling through them.
Perfect.
If you want to go back up a little bit, we can, or if you want to kind of keep going
Nope.
where we're at, that's great.
Nope. What where are we at? What game? And I'll tee you up.
Absolutely. So we're at Lures at Delta.
Oh, perfect. What a great place to be. Swami has Bishop Lures by 7. And the more I think about it, that might be too many points because the Golden Eagles are tough at home. Jake, your thoughts?
Like I said earlier, man, with being a Columbia City fan, Delta has handled their business against us in prior seasons. I like that number. I'm going to take Lures in the points. I think if it was anything more than that, I don't know if they would cover, but I think the Knights are gonna have what it takes.
Like 21-14, something like that?
That's exactly that's where my brain's at.
Okay. Prairie Heights at Manchester. Swami says Manchester by 35. Running clock in the third quarter.
I hate that I agree with this, but I too am taking Manchester in the points.
Okay. Whitco at Eastside. B-side by 49.
Again, I feel horrible saying this, but I agree East Side in the points, and I think that they're going to establish a great dominance in the first half, running clock third quarter, and they're just going to coast it out.
Speaking of lopsided margin, Central Noble at Adams Central. Swami says Adams Central by 58.
Usually when I go against this, I eat it. So I am going to take AC and the points on their pathway of destruction en route to another sectional title appearance.
Yeah, the only thing about these smaller schools, even with the running clock rules, a lot of times they don't have a ton of depth. So they end up playing some pretty good football players. And remember, these backups are playing their starters all year long, and they're hungry and they're not going to take a knee. So I think that's why some of these scores still get out of hand, even with the running clock rule. All right, Bluffton at Churubusco, the game of the week. Casey O'Boyle, am taking the Busco Eagles by a point in an upset special because I wimped out a couple weeks ago against West Noble when I wanted to make the exact same prediction. Swami says Bluffton by 4, though.
I agree with Casey, and the Bucks go upset by a point, and I think it all stems from that West Noble game and just the guts that it took, and for the coaches to ask the players, hey, what are we doing? We're going for it. Here's the play, and they go stick it, and how tough they played Fairfield. I really thought that game was going to be closer, and Busco really set the tone early, and I think that this is kind of a team of destiny for the Eagles to just kind of create a little chaos in the sectional.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And again, that senior class has been special. Class A, Southern Wells at Triton. Swami says Triton by 23.
I am going to – Triton will win this game, but I think that's too many points. I'm going to take Southern Wells in this one in saying that Triton is not going to cover that spread. I love the Triton linebackers. Like I said, one of those kids is very close to our family. But they did show some weaknesses in the North Miami game that I think if Southern Wells can see that on tape can expose.
Okay. Blackhawk at Fremont. Swami says Fremont by 35.
Yeah, Fremont and the points on that one. I think that Carmine Moreno has just been such a dominant rusher, and that offensive line has just opened up some great holes for him. I think they're just going to get it churning and keep on rolling.
Madison Grant at South Adams. Swami says the Starfires by 14.
Man, South Adams, I feel like is going to win this game, but I feel like this is going to be pretty close. And like we said earlier, I think this is going to be the sectional championship game right off the clip. So I'm not going to say they're going to cover that spread. I think it's going to be more like maybe 9-10 points.
You're going with the Argyles. The Argyles, they've gotten their socks knocked off collectively the last 3 weeks.
I knew there would be an Argyles joke.
All right, let's go on campus real quick. UCLA at the number 2 ranked Indiana Hoosiers. I was down there last week with the family. Maura and I both had credentials. It's still very electric. It's very surreal. I have to pinch myself almost weekly to even think about IU football being in the national conversation the way they are. What a story. Swami says IU by 31. Is that too many, Jake?
I'll tell you, I think Indiana wins, but I think it's too many points. I think UCLA, now that they've got a hyped-up play caller, they're on, a 3-game win streak now?
3.
Yeah,
yep.
He is exciting to watch. I love his calls in the locker room. We actually started doing a chant similar to what UCLA does after they win games, and they're a lot of fun to watch. Now, I will say neither of these teams are who I root for, but I love IU football. I love what Coach Sig is doing, and I am really pulling for them to make a deep run. IU wins it but doesn't cover.
Okay. It's an amazing story, amazing team this year, and if they stay healthy, I think they got a legit shot to win a national title, which is
I do too.
Okay, Rutgers at Purdue. Jackson, I'm going to let you chime in on this one. Swami, even with the backup QB, thinks that the Boilers get it done. Purdue by 3. Jackson, I'll go to you first.
I like it. Purdue's got good special teams, and you know what? I think special teams could be the difference in this ball game. I think if Purdue can force 1 or 2 turnovers and not turn it over themselves, and really get the running game going. Singleton's a good dual threat guy as well. Get a little bit of the play action, a little bit of the triple option even I'd be okay with. And you know what? Just get us this win.
Well, the game night Geiger men will be there as well. You got a bunch of dead animals on your wall behind you. What's going on in there?
Yeah, those are
those ghost skulls?
Those are not ghost skulls. Those are, the deer that we've killed the past couple of years.
Antelopes, or what are those? I mean, you're killing some illegal animals up there?
Are those jackalopes? They got those in Whitley
County.
They
look like jackalopes. I think they are.
No,
it's not even legal. Deer. That's not even legal. All right, be gone. Jake, what are your thoughts on Purdue hosting Rutgers? Do the Boilers get it done this week?
I'm only saying this because Geiger muted himself again, but after seeing what Northwestern did, I think Rutgers beats them by 21.
Oh my gosh,
Listen here,
That is
man.
so
Listen here.
that's so unfair. Remember,
I'm sorry,
he's
I'm
got
kidding.
all the buttons. He can control everything. He's like the
Oh.
Wizard of Oz right now. All right, Ball State at Northern Illinois. You got Nick Feecable from Bishop Gorman,
Yes.
the special teams coach at Ball State, and of course Thomas Hammock,
Love it.
the head coach at Northern Illinois, the Bishop Luers grad. So you got two local bishops kind of going head to head. Pretty cool story there. Swami says Northern Illinois by 9. Jake.
Yeah, spot on. And Coach Thomas was on, kind of went viral this year in his talks about NIL and portal and dealing with those things as a coach.
Love it.
Love what he does. I think that's spot on. I'm going to take Northern Illinois in the points.
Okay, I think it's low scoring. I think it's like 20-11, some weird score like that. All right, Indiana State at North Dakota State. Love to see the Sycamores rise up, but I think North Dakota State's just kind of a juggernaut right now, and I do love the Bison. You know, I do love the Bison. So
For sure.
Swami says North Dakota State by 35. Jake?
I love our in-state schools. I love the Sycamores, but I agree. I think that's spot on. I'm taking North Dakota State in the points. The way they run and line over personnel, just everything all over the place, double tight. They'll run trap. They'll run quarterback power, and just they do it with tempo. It's so much fun to watch. Yeah, North Dakota State in the points.
Okay, well, great. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. Not in the cave, but remote. This is a lot of fun. Jackson, you can pop on so we can see your handsome mug one more time. Thank you for everything. Quit killing all those nice animals up there in Whitley County, okay? Those are God's creatures. And if you are killing
This
them, at least
weekend
eat
we
the
might
meat.
get another one down.
At least eat the meat. That's all I ask. Don't just chop
yes,
up their
of
heads and
course.
put them on your wall. It's disgusting. You just, I can't do it. I mean, don't ever do that to Annie. She loves you.
Never.
Okay. All right. I'm just kidding you. I thought maybe they were goat heads, truthfully.
I did
because
too.
he
No,
likes
no,
goats,
no,
too.
no.
Okay. All right. Well, for Jackson and Jake, I'm Casey. Tune into Summit City Sports if you can't get out tomorrow night and watch a game in person. I know Jeff Mahoney's going to be at Busco, I believe. Great matchup. A lot of really good games tomorrow night in the opening round of the state playoffs. We will see you next week, everybody. Good night.
Playoff football, baby.
Good night.